Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. The disciples were afraid of the Jewish leaders, and on the evening of that same Sunday, they locked themselves in a room. Suddenly, Jesus appeared in the middle of the group. He greeted them and showed them his hands and his side. When the disciples saw the Lord, they became very happy. After Jesus had greeted them again, he said, "I am sending you just as the Father has sent me." Then he breathed on them and said, "Receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive anyone's sins, they will be forgiven. But if you don't forgive their sins, they will not be forgiven." Although Thomas the twin was one of the 12 disciples, he was not with the others when Jesus appeared to them. So they told him, "We have seen the Lord." But Thomas said, "First, I must see the nail scars in his hands and touch them with my finger. I must put my hand where the spear went into his side. I won't believe unless I do this." A week later, the disciples were together again. This time, Thomas was with them. Jesus came in while the doors were still locked and stood in the middle of the group. He greeted his disciples and said to Thomas, "Put your fingers here and look at my hands. Put your hand into my side. Stop doubting and have faith." Thomas replied, "You are my Lord and my God." Jesus said, "Thomas, do you have faith because you have seen me? The people who have faith in me without seeing me are the ones who are really blessed." The Gospel of the Lord. I invite the children to come forward for the homily. Lots of room over here. Happy Easter. Oh boy, that's real dull. Let's try that again. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
All right. I know you got all your eggs last week and you think it's all over. You don't have to say Happy Easter, but Happy Easter we keep saying for at least 50 days. 50 days. It's not one day. It's a whole season, many weeks, months. And we celebrate it a lot because it's very important. I'm going to prove that, okay? I'm going to prove it to you that this is a very, very, very important feast. In fact, in the church, it's the most important feast of all the feasts that we have. Because when we celebrate Easter, we are talking about the resurrection, the rising from the dead of Jesus, who is God the Son. And when he rose from the dead, he reopened the gates of heaven that were closed because of the sin of Adam and Eve. So that's what we're celebrating. That's a big deal. How many of you want to go to heaven someday? You want to go? Oh, you got a hand up. Okay. Anybody not want to go? Okay. You go over with your parents and sit there. Go on. So we all want to go to heaven. And heaven is the most wonderful, glorious, joyful, happy place. We don't get sick. We never have, there's no wars, there's no troubles, etc. And that's what God wanted from the beginning. But because of Adam and Eve, who said, "No, God," we were exposed to sin and death, and it's not a good thing. However, because we are Christians, we know that the death and resurrection of Jesus destroyed the power of sin and death, which means two things. Number one, none of us ever have to sin. No one can force us to sin. From this moment on to the day we die, we never have to commit a sin. That's good news. The second thing is we don't have to be afraid of death. You know, when death comes, it's going to come, no big deal, because God is all in control of it and we don't have to be worried. So I'm going to prove why this is such an important feast. When Jesus rose from the dead, this is almost 2,000 years ago. 2,000. Are any of you 2,000 years old? You're 2,000? You're 2,000? Okay, we have a lot of 2,000-year-old people here. We're going to put you into a reformatory because, yeah, look at that. 2,000 years ago, when Jesus rose from the dead, maybe there were 1,000 people. Maybe not that many. But 1,000's a lot of people, right? That's a lot of people. Now, today, in 2025, there are almost 2 billion Christians. 2 billion. Now, I don't know if maybe you want to write it out when you go home. That's a lot bigger than 1,000. And so why do we have 2 billion people? It's because people who witness the resurrection of Jesus Christ said to other people, hey, it's true. And then we have people we call missionaries. Paul was a great missionary. He was such a believer that he wanted to make sure other people came to believe. So he traveled hundreds of miles. And he was persecuted, which means he was beaten up. He was kicked out of towns. He was stoned. People threw stones at him. But because he was so in love with God, because of what God did for him, he wanted to tell everybody else about it. So that's why we're here. So that's the proof. We go from 1,000 people to almost 2 billion people. And what's there, 7 billion, 8 billion in the world? So Christians make up the biggest religious group in the world. And that's because of what Jesus did for us. So that's why it's the most important feast. If it hadn't been for the resurrection of Jesus, we would not be here. We wouldn't be here. I don't know what would happen. We may have killed one another by this point. But because he came and did what he did, we don't have to worry about sin. We don't have to be afraid of death. All we have to do is what Jesus told us. So what's that? What did Jesus tell us to do? Really simple. Tell other people about me, about Jesus. Tell other people. That's what the disciples did, the apostles did. That's what Paul did. That's what Carlo Acutis did. He told other people about Jesus so they could believe. And they did believe. And that's your job and mine. You know, we have to keep telling other people. And God has given us lots of power so that some of you may have the ability to heal someone of a disease. Maybe. You may have the ability to take one loaf of bread and multiply it into hundreds of loaves of bread. Because that's the power of Jesus. Even today, some of you, or maybe one of you, might, during your lifetime, raise someone from the dead. Now, would that get people believing? You think people would start thinking, hey, maybe this is true. I need to believe in Jesus. Because Jesus is the one that says we can do all those things. So we are called, and Jesus said it in the gospel, God the Father sent me, and I send you into the world to proclaim the gospel. And we do that in all sorts of ways, by being kind, by being patient, by saying to someone, I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to pray for you because you're going through a tough time. Or I'm going to come over and help you. Or, and this is in the gospel too, we can bring peace to people. Where there's war and dissension and troubles, we can be peacemakers because Jesus has given us his peace so that we can go forth and bring the peace to other people. So, you know, I'm 71 right now. I'm not 1,000, but I'm getting there pretty quickly. I don't know how much time I'm going to live. I don't know. So you have to help me and all of us to tell other people about Jesus. Right? Every one of you. You all got that ability. So we need to do it together, not just as individuals, but as a community. And can you imagine what would happen if suddenly, and we got to work at this, we have to pray about it a lot, if we started to pray over people who came here and said, hey, I'm deaf, would you pray over me? And people laid their hands on this person and prayed for them, and they got their hearing back. Would that be amazing? That could happen, and it does happen in churches. But do you think people would be coming into this church if they heard about that? Yeah, we'd have to build a new church. We're going to have a second collection for that. But that's what God said. That's what Jesus said. I'm not making this up or saying it's a fairy tale. It's not. It's true. And if you go around the world, there are people who are being cured of serious illnesses. Again, back to Carlo Acutis. He's a saint. And because he interceded with God for some people, they were cured of disease. Now, we can do that too. So that's why Easter is such an important feast. And really, every single day, we're called to thank God for this feast of Easter. Because it's all about Jesus. It's about his resurrection, destroying the power of sin and death, and then saying to us, go out and tell other people about it. Okay? So in school, do it in school. Tell other people about Jesus. Pray for people. If someone is hurting or whatever, say, hey, can I help you? What's going on? Can I pray for you right now? And helping people when they need help. Going out of your way to help people that maybe have no friends. All of those are ways in which we can show the love of God, which God has given to us, and that we are called to give to other people. So next year, when we celebrate Easter, I'm wondering if we pray hard about it, you will be able to tell me some of the wonderful things that you did because of Jesus' resurrection, and that we can celebrate it here in church. Because we need to do that. We need to celebrate the goodness of God. So that's your homework. You got a year to do it, okay? A whole year. And hopefully I'll still be around. You know, I sometimes look at my expiration date here, and, you know, I hope it's wrong. But you're going to be around a lot longer than I am. But we all have to work together. We all have to work together to do what Jesus tells us to do, okay? Okay, you on board with that? Okay, so you tell me, anytime, tell me what you have done to share Jesus with other people, just like Peter, Paul, James, John, Matthew, Bartholomew, all those great people. We're called to be great people too. So we have a wonderful work to do. So keep telling me about how you do that so we can share that with other people. So I'm going to try it one more time. Ready? Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Okay, very good. You can go back to your pews. Thank you.